Hi everyone, Gina Shelley here. Hope you're doing well. My question for you today is, have you ever met a sadistic psychopath or a dark empath, as they call them? And would you know if you did? I strongly challenge you that even if you have, you would never know. You would never know. Because the main goal behind dark empaths and narcissists and psychopaths, sociopaths, the game is to trick you into believing that they're completely normal. And to do that, they have to craft an entire false image around the core engines of what's really driving them. And the core engines of what's driving them are narcissism, which is off the chart self-care, climbing, scratching, clawing over the top of everyone else to get what they want. Lie, cheat, steal, that's narcissism for themselves. That's narcissism. Then there's Machiavellianism, which is perpetual diabolical gameplay. On and on and on. Constant trickery, constant covert behavior behind your back, laughing and giggling behind your back because they're getting away with it. Machiavellianism, that's their gameplay, and they're the only one playing this psychological game, which is how they win every time, compounding their delusional idea that they have some kind of superpower of winning over you, but they really love winning over you. They've got to get over on you. That's Machiavellianism. That's that marionette puppeting of people, using them in a very unethical way. And then the third part is psychopathy, which is psychopath. These people are not interested in anything other than their own gains, and they have no remorse over how they treat you like garbage, and they have no values, no right and wrong. A lot of these people have learned the get out of jail free card is Christianese. Learn how to speak the Christian or guru language. That's your get out of jail free. That makes you look good. Even though what you're doing behind closed doors is absolutely diabolical. They don't care because they don't care about right and wrong. They don't care about ethics. They have no remorse, and they only care about their image. And it's all about protecting their false image. The fourth arm of this is sadism. And to me, this is really, really diabolical because I suffered at the hands of extremely sadistic psychopaths, 2 of them in my home. And sadists just like to hurt. They like to hurt, they like to torment, and they like to destroy all the way to the end. Actually, that is the goal, is the end. The end goal is the end. And sadism, terrible. So those are their core values. And anything else that you see is absolute fake. It is faux. It is something that they have plastered on the outside and pasted together to try to make it look good, smell good, and get past the sniff test. But initially, when you meet somebody like this, when you meet them, let's say as an adult, they're polished. They've been practicing their craft for years. Their goal is to get over on you. Their goal is so that they're pathological liars. Their goal is to get so much over on you they can laugh about it later. I'm not kidding. These are not normal people. These are people who enjoy hurting animals, hurting small children, and getting rid of things that aren't people who aren't efficient. The disabled, the infirmed, they laugh at them. They do not take care of them. So, everything on the outside, they want you to look at them from the outside in. They do not allow you to ever get close enough to look at them from the inside out. That is a no-no. You're not allowed to go there. That is a no man's zone. You're not even allowed to ask questions about. And if they do, they'll have very ready answers for what they think you're going to ask. The other thing, those are their 4 core engines. Anything else is a gross fake article. It's not real. That's why if you wonder if they love you, they don't. They don't know how to love. All of their behaviors are cut and paste. Everything else other than those 4 core engines are cut and paste and stuck to them on the outside. They glean behaviors by watching them, normal people out in the world, and when they see something they like, they basically capture it and then just absorb it into themselves. And that is part of what makes up the rest of their personality. They've cut and pasted a bunch of stuff. And so if you're in a relationship with someone like this, it feels very artificial because it's not real. That's strange, and that you need to know about psychopaths, narcissists, sadistic people, is that they have a cast of thousands in their arsenal. They can change faces faster, I don't know, than you can say lickety split. They're changing and modifying around you in the space to try to figure out which one it is that they think you want to hear. And they're playing that character, they're playing that role in this moment to exploit you somehow for something. They're after something, even if it's just to continue the relationship and don't leave. They're playing whatever character role they feel like you need to see in that moment. And they're very emotionally intelligent. They absolutely have the ability to do this. And like I said, they have a character, an arsenal of thousands of faces that they can shift through and click, 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 and it's this one right here. They're very prideful. They're very selfish. They're very stubborn, and they're not going to change. You can spend 20 years of your life hoping for this person's best potential, but when it comes down to it, you're the one being played. They are playing the long game, and they're literally just tweaking down on you and just tightening down the screws on you and playing the long game. They're going to wear you out. They're absolutely going to wear you out they're going to exploit you to the end. And if they live longer than you, they're going to squeeze every bit that they can of you out. So back to my original question. Have you ever run across a sadistic psychopath in your life, in your real life, like in front of you, a friend, story, a relative? And if you have, how would you know? How would you know? Because this very rare dark personality type is very specific. This personality type wants to capture you, wants you to stay there by your own volition while you're being horrifically tormented, mistreated, and abused physically, mentally, emotionally, sexually, all the ways. The predator, this sadistic psychopath, wants you to stay there as an infinite source of narcissistic supply. Because you're a loving person, you're a caring person, you've proven to them that you're a perfect victim, that you will stay and you will endure their mistreatment, their torment, and their abuse. And they want that all the time. They just want to keep rolling that over to the next day, like a kid will go, 5 more minutes, mommy, 5 more minutes. And then they just run with it. So understand what you're dealing with. I pray you will have godly discernment and understand these people cannot be changed. You cannot evangelize a demon. You can't. And that's what you're dealing with in these folks. It took me a really, really, really long time to realize this about my father. But when I did, I finally understood why, when I asked my mom, till I was 5 or 6 years old, every night, crying, blubbering myself to sleep every night, begging my mom when she would come by my bed to tuck me in and kiss me goodnight and say prayers with me, I would say, Mommy, why does Daddy hate me? Why? As I would just continue to cry and cry and cry. I was so confused and so hurt over this treatment, and I didn't understand why. And she would never say, but then one time she finally did, and it tore her up so bad. She said, he doesn't know how. He doesn't know how. And I always thought that was a bit of a cop-out, and that just confused me even further. But now that I'm older and I realize he didn't have the capacity to love or be kind or be a father. His brain chemistry was completely different than mine. He got dopamine hits from hurting me. He got dopamine hits from terrorizing my mother by holding me upside down and shaking me all around. He got dopamine hits from hurting our animals and terrorizing me as soon as she went to the commissary. Their brains are wired differently. So the things that brought him dopamine are not the same things that bring a normal person joy. And so we were just two planets in the same universe, sort of, and he was always attracted to hurting me. And he taught my brothers to do the same thing. One of them really enjoyed it and followed suit exactly the same way. So I wasn't just dealing with one sadistic psychopath in my family. I was dealing with two. And that's how I know it was God who got me out of this situation. No one was looking to see what the problems were. No one was going to come in there and help me. And my mom wasn't taking us in the middle of the night to any sort of shelter to get us help, to get away. So God helped me survive these horrendous circumstances for, I guess I was 19 before I left home and went off to college. But then I finally escaped the whole area, which was what was necessary when I was 26 years old with my two children. And only God could do something like that, because I was just a little David up against a great big old Goliath, and because this was a family system. This was 4 other people supporting this behavior on the smallest and the youngest and the only girl. There was no way out except for God. So I'm praying, if any of this sounds familiar, or if you know just someone that needs help, please encourage them to look for their moment of delivery, look for their opening, their open doorway to leave, and for God to rescue them and deliver them to another place. I'm praying for each and every one of you. I love you, and I thank you for listening, but most of all, the blessing is in this. Let God's blessing fall on you for discernment, for grace, and for opening up for deliverance and healing in the name of Jesus. That's my prayer for you today. So I hope you're not in a situation like this, but if you are, just know God hears, God delivers, God restores the things that we need. He sort of brought me full circle around and understanding the things that happened to me, and understanding more than anything was that He was my Father. Yahweh is my Father and was my Father from the very beginning. This wicked man was just a stronghold standing in the way that He had to deliver me from, so that I could see my true heritage, which is in the Lord. So I hope that these things encourage you, and I hope you will be uplifted and know that you're being prayed for deliverance and healing. So, till next time, I pray you stay safe, stay blessed, and be healed for sure. And just know that God loves you and He hears your prayers and He loves the children. All right, till next time.